excellent weight balance. Oh wow, it's like glued to the road. You do not feel any speed in the M440i. Like if you're going 70, it feels like you're just cruising 40. Booster up, let's go. Oh, ah. Hello there everyone, welcome back. Today we are driving the 2024 BMW M440i xDrive Gran Coupe. If you are on the fence of whether to buy this BMW or get an Audi S5 Sportback, then this video is exactly for you. Or if you just want to find out about this car more and get to enjoy this interactive POV drive, then stay tuned. And I want to say a huge thank you to Alex over at BMW of Fairfax, Virginia, for providing me this car. All this information will be in the right hand corner of the screen, but we will get started right now. Let's go take a look outside this BMW. I personally have always been a fan of these Gran Coupe designs. I've owned a VW Arteon, a Kia Stinger GT, an Audi S5 Sportback. So in today's video, I'm going to share the direct comparison between this car and the S5. Since these are direct competitors, they cost about the same, and they offer a lot of similarities for the money. But your question may be, should I get this or stick to the Audi? But let's begin with the very first comparison, and we're going to take a look at the back seat. Let's hop in here. We got the frameless windows. So hopping into the back seat, I'm 6'2" tall, and there's ample legroom here for me. Comfy back seat, soft touch materials everywhere. We got the armrest with cup holders, a black headliner. We got the reading lights. So this right here is actually called the Cognac Sensatec, or nowadays they call it the Veganza. It's not actual leather, it's eco-friendly leather, but I personally actually prefer this over the real leather because this material is softer, it's much more resistant to constant wear, and it's a really enjoyable, pleasant material. We got the rear climate here. Now, talking about the comfort of the rear seats, I would say between this or the S5, the comfort is very similar, and the space, the legroom, the headroom, it feels very comparable to the Audi. Let's go take a look at the trunk. It's an automatic liftgate. We have fairly decent space here. Can totally fit in a few suitcases. Now let's look at the engine bay. So with BMW, you just got to pull the handle twice and the hood opens. Now one of the main differences between the cars is going to be right here under the hood. Audi uses a 3.0T V6, while this is a 3.0 liter inline 6 B58 engine with the hybrid setup. So not only do you get power from the engine, you also have an electric motor that assists you. It's a very reliable engine with great potential, and it sounds Very satisfying too. I've never realized how good this paint looks until I saw it today in person. What a magnificent, attractive green color. Now the first and foremost difference that you will see between two cars is when we come to the front passenger side. The seats, they are fundamentally different between the M440i and the S5. The S5 has sort of racing seats without a headrest adjustments, and they have very strong side supports on both sides. But throughout my ownership experience, I've noticed that sitting in Audi seats for over 2 hours gets very fatiguing because of the way the seats are designed. When you sit in these seats here, you feel that there is good side support, but your shoulders and armpits are not affected. So you can still feel really good side support left and right, but it doesn't drive right under your armpits like the S5 seat does. The seats in the S5 do have the massage feature, and here we don't have that feature. So for long trips, these seats are many times better and more comfortable. We also have the thigh extension and the headrest adjustment. So the Audi seats, they don't have that adjustment at all. So it's a one size fits all. The next part is the steering wheel. The steering wheels in BMWs are far nicer than any current new Audi right now. They are much thicker, they have more pleasant material, and even the stitching, it's very smooth. If you try Audi stitching right here, it's gonna be very rough, and it's gonna be like sandpaper against your hands. And Audi steering wheels are much thinner, even in the RS models. We have large size paddle shifters, bigger than the S5 has. But one of the most important differences that I've noticed is here we actually have physical dials, which you can use to go through your features. You also have a way larger screen than the S5. The S5 screen is about this big, maybe like this big, and it's glued like a tablet to the dash. But here we have a large screen with excellent graphics, lots of good features. We have our Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, interior lighting. In the Audi, to get the ambient lighting, you actually have to go all the way to the Prestige trim. And here, we already have that. And we're gonna keep it a turquoise. We have our digital key. So you have an app where you can remote start the car, preheat it, find it on the map. You can also start it from the key. We have different driving settings. So we have our driver assistance options with active blind spot. Another difference between this car and the S5 is the blind spot system. So when you're driving in the Audi and you put on your blinker and there's a car in your blind zone, it's just gonna light up orange and blink. Here, it's gonna light up and you're gonna get a little vibration in the wheel telling you there's a car. And that's actually one of my favorite features about BMW in general, is that blind spot system. It's the best system that I've personally used. Another option here is the drivetrain and chassis, where you can actually adjust your sport individual settings to whichever way you like, with the steering, the suspension, and turn the iconic sounds on and off. That's just the artificial sound, but we will keep it off. Now Audi, they don't use artificial sound, they use the sound dactyr. It basically enhances the car's sound somehow through the cabin. We also have our climate system right here, where we can adjust the heated seats, the air direction, and set up whatever we want here through the climate menu. So you can choose where the air blows, the temperature. We also have different driving modes. Here's another difference between the Audi and the BMW. If we were driving an S5 and we wanted to go to a different drive mode, we'd have to press the drive select arrow once and then a few more times to get to dynamic. Here, we just press sport, and now we're in Sport Plus. Comfort, we're in comfort. It's much more easy to do it here than in the Audi. We have the storage space, the glove box, and also one more thing with the S5 is here you have an automatic shade that opens up, whereas in the Audi you have to manually drag it back. In the S4s, I think the S5 has the same thing as here, as far as I remember. And also the Audi shade, it has a little more see-through material here. So here you can't see anything, but there you can see like small portions of the sky. It's a thinner material. We have the reading lights and the auto dimming mirror with HomeLink. Now the mirror design is different here compared to the Audi. The Audi has a frameless mirror here. Here we can also adjust different information, the layout, the content, however you like to see your speed. You can also have the map in the center. We can keep the map here if we'd like, but for our purpose, I'm just going to keep it minimalistic so you can see the dash and the speed of the car. Content, and we're just going to keep it at the speed at reduced. Let's do a wiper test. We also have a nice and clear to see heads-up display. I think BMW makes much better heads-up displays than Audi. There's more information, it's much more adjustable and customizable. We have our backup camera with parking sensors. But let's start heading out here. I'm also going to mention that we have automatic headlights, Harman Kardon audio, and memory seat for the driver. But let's start heading out. Another difference is the braking power. So the brake here feels much more intense and responsive than in the S5. The S5 does have a smoother feeling pedal. And the gas pedal, it's floor mounted. The Audi has a hanging pedal, the same pedals you will find in a Jetta and other Volkswagen products. I personally prefer floor mounted pedals, but to each their own. I guess it really just matters what you prefer more. I love the way this engine sounds. It's like a melody. Let's try Sport Plus. See how she takes this first corner. Excellent weight balance. Oh wow. It's like glued to the road. So another difference is the handling. So here the handling is more playful and sporty than in the S5. The S5 does have very secure handling, but it's not as aggressive or playful as the BMWs. Wow. The power here really impresses. It's instant. It's got so much torque. Let's try the braking power. Very good. Visibility is overall very good here. I can see everything around me beside the thicker pillars. The ride feels comfortable, even in sport mode. I don't feel any major bumps, and the cabin is very hushed for a car with frameless windows. Now, talking about the material here on the console, the Audi material that is used in the console is very prone to scratching, and I've experienced it firsthand in my S5. BMW's material throughout long-term usage is much more resistant to scratches. And just the materials are, I'd say, more heavy duty in the sense that they wear out less. You do not feel any speed in the M440i. Like if you're going 70, it feels like you're just cruising 40. And the Audi gives you the same feeling. Now, as far as the sound coming from the engine, this car is quieter, especially with iconic sounds turned off. Like you can hear the engine growl a bit, but it's very hushed and reserved. But let's turn on our RaceBox and we will do some 0 to 60 tests once we take our exit and see how quick this car is. Now let's also touch upon the engine. What is the main difference between this engine and the S5? So the B58, it's built for higher RPMs and the mid-range punch to the high RPMs. Now the engine in the S5, it's much more of a diesel-like engine in my opinion. It already gives you insane amounts of torque from 1400 RPM. So in the S4, S5, when you're driving, you don't really have to give it much gas. You can just give it a little bit of the gas, and at 2000 RPM, the car just lurches forward. Audi also tuned their transmission in such a way that even with very light driving, your shift points are still touching 3,500, 4,000 RPMs when you're adding gas. And that gives the car an extra sense of quickness. Whereas BMW in comfort mode, it's much more reserved. And it saves that jumpiness and aggressiveness for Sports Plus or Sport. But let's make a U-turn here and do our first 0 to 60 tests. Also, the S5 is somewhat louder in dynamic mode than this car with the iconic sounds off. I do like the seating position here more than in the Audi. I can see much more of the hood and I can just see the dimensions of the car, whereas the S5 just has a very flat hood, super flat. And this design appeals more to me than just that one vent that goes through the whole dash. But let's turn around and do some acceleration testing. Come to a full stop and do our first 0 to 60 test. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. It was thinking for a little bit, I don't know why. And we did 5.4 seconds 0 to 60. I don't know why it was thinking, but for some reason it just didn't want to go when I pressed the gas. But let's try one more time here. Let me come to a full stop. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. It thinks for a little bit and now we're going. All right, 5.19 seconds 0 to 60 from idle. This car also is very new, so it's not a lot of miles on it. So it may be still learning, adjusting to my driving style. But I'm sure with every new attempt that we would do, it can do better. All right, 3, 2, 1, booster up. Let's go. Oh, ah. All right. So we did 0 to 60 in 4.63 seconds and 0 to 100 in 4.89 seconds. I think the reason is that this car is still not broken in at all, and it doesn't even let me turn on the launch function. So it's still saving itself from any, wear or any of these potential issues. But still, we did a 4.63 0 to 60 and 1/8 mile and 8.44 at 85.4 miles an hour. Not bad, and that was slightly uphill too. But the car is still learning. So it's still learning, adjusting, and I feel like once it's broken in properly, it is going to be much faster, at least half a second faster than it is now. See, now it jumped off. Now it's going. Yeah, now it was 4.95 0 to 60. So on this run, it actually did better off idle than before. We started off with 5.6 and now we're at 4.95. As you can see, the car is learning. And I feel like with a couple more iterations and some more miles, she'll be doing better and better. So my assumptions were correct. The car's only got 23 miles on the odometer. Still very new, still learning. So it'd be interesting to test a M440i that has a couple thousand miles. Because here, like I said, the car didn't even let me activate launch control. So it's definitely holding itself back. So for my testing specifically here, the performance is actually fairly similar between the Audi and the M440i, at least at this current stage. I've gotten similar 4.6, 4.7 times in a brand new S5. That has not been broken in either. So very comparable performance. And in terms of driving the S5 as a daily, the S5 just has so much low-end torque. Like here, if you want to start moving, you gotta give more gas. I also feel it's because of the way the transmission and just the drive settings are tuned. Comfort means you're going comfortably. It doesn't want you doing anything stupid. Now put it to sport and it becomes a whole different kind of beast.
In half a mile, turn right.
So between the two cars, each have their own advantages. So the S5 gives you cool racing seats, which may be uncomfortable on long journeys. A similar quality of ride. I do think that the M440i has a slightly more comfortable ride, but it is very comparable. So I can't say like one car is much more comfortable than the other. This definitely does have the more aggressive handling, and it's a much more playful platform in terms of the handling and taking back roads than the S5. The sound, again, it's a matter of preferences. I do love the way the S5 sounds and dynamic. It just has a very distinct, beautiful tone, and this does too. But it's gonna be a hard decision who sounds better. I do love the infotainment and the steering wheel and the pedals and just all of these HVAC materials in this car. But to be fair, I do give the S5 credit for having physical climate buttons that you can turn and set the temperature, adjust. That is definitely an advantage in the S5, because here you got to go through the screen. It's an interesting comparison between the two cars and which one is the better car. So it's all up to you. Can't go wrong with either one. This is definitely a little more sporty, engaging, and the S5 is more of just a stylish, comfortable cruiser touring car with a great sound, excellent low range and mid-range pickup, and an infotainment that is somewhat more outdated, but they do have a cool Google Earth display. So having driven these cars, it's hard for me to pick a specific winner in this case, but this car definitely wins the engagement part. And just the feel. And I feel like after this car is broken in, it probably will get faster than what we showed now. I think this car is a perfect platform. Just the suspension, it's perfection. Also, one more thing, the maintenance here is included, and it's not included in the Audi. It's $14.99 for Audi Care, which is a must-get package. Another thing that I want to mention, the S5, the rims, if you get the black optics package, it's very easy to damage them in the tires with the potholes, so be careful about that. And I personally would probably stick with the base rims for the S5 because it's a way more comfortable ride on the regular rims than the black optics. But the cabin design I do prefer. I'll probably have to say this car. It does have a nicer, more ergonomical layout overall. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know which car you would pick, the M440i or the S5, and why. I would love to hear your thoughts. Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. And until next time.